The morning began like every other in the billionaire's mansion, sunlight pouring through tall glass windows, and a line of staff already in motion, polishing, cleaning, and preparing for his day. But one person was missing. The maid, a quiet woman who had worked for him for 7 years, was late for the first time. When she finally hurried through the door, her apron half-tied and her hair damp with sweat, he was already waiting in the foyer, arms crossed, eyes sharp. "You're 20 minutes late," he said coldly. She opened her mouth to explain, but he cut her off. "I don't pay for excuses. I pay for reliability." Her voice trembled. "Sir, my bus—" He snapped his fingers toward the door. "Save it. You're dismissed." She froze, eyes wide with disbelief. After all these years, just like that? He turned away without answering. Within minutes she was gone, her small bag clutched tight in her hands. The mansion returned to its usual silence, but somehow it felt heavier than before. That night, the billionaire sat in his study sipping a drink as the TV murmured in the background. He wasn't listening, not until the news anchor's voice sharpened mid-sentence. A woman pulled several children from a burning apartment complex earlier today. He glanced up, uninterested, until the photo flashed across the screen. His glass slipped from his hand, shattering on the marble floor. It was her, the maid he had fired only hours ago, covered in soot, her face streaked with ash, but unmistakably her. The billionaire leaned forward, his pulse hammering as the reporter's voice carried through the room. Witnesses say the woman ran back into the flames 3 times to save trapped children. She was later taken to the hospital for smoke inhalation, but is expected to recover. He stared at the screen, the weight of his own cruelty pressing against his chest. His maid, no, that woman, had been late because she was out saving lives. He muted the television, his reflection staring back at him through the dark glass, cold, empty, ashamed. He grabbed his phone, dialing his assistant. "Find out which hospital she's in." Now. Within an hour he was in his car, driving faster than he had in years, his heart pounding with a mixture of guilt and disbelief. When he arrived, the hospital corridor smelled of disinfectant and burnt fabric. Nurses whispered as he passed, recognizing him instantly. But their eyes didn't hold admiration this time, only quiet judgment. He stopped outside her room. Through the window, he saw her sitting upright in bed, her arm bandaged, her hands trembling as she spoke softly to a group of children, the very ones she had saved. Their small hands reached out to touch hers as she smiled, her exhaustion hidden behind kindness. The billionaire's throat tightened. He realized she hadn't been late because of carelessness. She had been late because she chose humanity over her own safety. And he, blinded by arrogance, had punished her for it. He stood frozen at the door for a long moment, watching her with the children, one boy resting against her shoulder, one little girl clutching her hand as though afraid to let go. The woman who had quietly scrubbed his floors now looked like someone out of another world, someone strong, someone selfless, someone good. He took a deep breath and knocked gently. She looked up, startled when she saw him, her smile fading, replaced by something unreadable. Confusion, maybe hurt. He stepped closer, his voice quiet. "I came to see you." She hesitated, then said softly, "I didn't think you would." He swallowed hard, his throat dry. "I saw the news. I know now why you were late this morning. I was wrong." Her eyes glistened, but she said nothing, letting him speak on. "I fired you without listening, without even asking if you were all right. You risked your life while I sat in comfort judging you. I don't deserve your forgiveness." She studied him for a long moment, then spoke. In that calm, gentle tone he had heard every morning for 7 years. "Sir, I wasn't angry, I was just sad. I always believed you had a good heart under all that noise. I just wish you'd heard me before today." Her words hit him harder than any accusation. Could he lowered his head, his voice breaking? "I don't know how to make this right," she smiled faintly. "You don't fix kindness with money, sir. You fix it with change." For the first time in his life, the billionaire felt small in the best possible way. He nodded silently, knowing she had given him something more valuable than forgiveness, a lesson in what it meant to be human. The next morning, the billionaire called a press conference outside the hospital, Cameras flashed, microphones lined up, and reporters gathered expecting another story about wealth and business. But when he stepped up to the podium, there was no arrogance in his posture, only humility. He cleared his throat, his voice low but steady. "Yesterday, I fired someone for being late. I didn't ask why. I didn't care. And that was my mistake. Because while I was sitting in comfort, she was running into a burning building to save lives." The crowd went silent. Behind him, the hospital doors opened and the maid, now dressed simply but with quiet dignity, stepped out. The children she had saved stood beside her, their small hands holding flowers. The billionaire turned toward her, his eyes soft. "This woman is a hero," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "and from this day forward, she will never serve anyone again. She will lead." Gasps rippled through the reporters as he handed her a folder. Inside were documents naming her the director of a new foundation he had created in her honor, one dedicated to supporting first responders and ordinary heroes who risk everything for others. Her hand trembled as she looked up at him. "Sir, I don't know what to say." He smiled faintly. "You don't have to say anything. You already did more than words ever could." The crowd broke into applause as tears filled her eyes, the children hugging her legs. The billionaire looked at her one last time and whispered so only she could hear, "You reminded me that character isn't measured by wealth, it's measured by heart. If this story moved you, share it, so others never forget that one selfless act can rewrite a destiny in ways no one sees coming."